How's everybody doing? Welcome to another episode of Let's Match, Let's Talk About It, the podcast brought to you by Stewart's Passion. I am your host, Tony, and today's guest is Bradley Clark, the
What's up,
Kentucky
buddy?
Cannabis. How you doing today?
Man, Tony, I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here talking in front of you and your audience, everybody out there, Kentucky Cannabis Nation. Like you said, I'm Brad Clark with Kentucky Cannabis Law Group. I'll shut up. I think I'm stepping on your toes. I apologize, Tony.
We are talking today with an attorney who is a specialist, specializes in cannabis law, graduating from Washington University, 15 years of experience, receiving the University of Kentucky Law's Young Professional Award in 2017. He received Kentucky's Bar Association Outstanding Young Lawyers Award in 2018. He manages the Kentucky Cannabis Law Group and began his legal career as staff attorney and capital defender. So you got a lot under your belt, sir.
Well, I mean, I've been hungry. What can I say?
What motivated you to become a lawyer?
Man, just growing up, just seeing people treated different, right? Was a lot of it. And, we were all told these, in school you watch 12 Angry Men, you read To Kill a Mockingbird, and you just see those characters, right? You see the justice system and you're like, I want to be a part of that, right? I want to help people. And I've always been a fan of the underdog. I've always been a fan of lost causes. Not in the Civil War kind of respect, but
I get it.
You know what I mean? I like in the UK football kind of respect. No offense to the fans out there, me included. But like I said, I've always been a fan of the underdog, and so that's why I knew, when I got into law school, I was living out in LA actually at the time. Funny story about that. I was working doing temp work for MySpace. That's how long ago this was. And my roommate said, "Hey, you should apply to law school." I took the tests out there, actually at USC, and I got into UK here. I got good scores or whatever. Went to school. I really didn't. I mean, I liked some of the people, but I didn't exactly jive with the corporate people, or particularly. I mean, really more the corporate people actually than the insurance defense company people, that kind of thing. People trying to prevent people from getting coverage for healthcare and things like that. But what I found that I really liked was I did the public defender externship. I guess it would be between my second and third year of law school. I met some people there, and I saw just how hands-on it was, and how instead of helping companies, in ways that you don't necessarily want to control, you're helping people because, no matter who somebody is, they got somebody that loves them, right? Even the worst person, right? You can think of, their mom probably loves them, or somebody probably loves them, and everybody's got something about them. And so that's really what working with the indigent, the poor, people of Lexington as a public defender really resonated with me, because I said, I'm from a small community, but it's not like a city. I'm from a town of 7,000 people in South Central Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Russellville. Shout out to Russellville, Logan County, but not the high school. No, not Logan County High School, Russellville High School. Anyway, but no, I mean, I've got no beef with those people. But my brother-in-law teaches there. He's a great man. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, though, I was just a different environment, going from somewhere like that, then living in St. Louis, living in LA, coming back to Kentucky, but on the big city side, it just exposed me to so many things. And, I think that part of being a lawyer and part of just being a good citizen is getting out there and talking to people that are different than you, right?
Okay.
On some level. And so I think there's this quote that Thoreau, I didn't like to get into Thoreau, but, in Walden, he talks about how when you're at home, you should live as though you're on vacation, as though you're traveling, right? And I kind of take that as my motto, and one of my mottos in life, right? That and a couple others. But in particular, and what I take that to mean, Tony, is that even if something's ordinary to you, don't let it become ordinary, right? Ask questions. I go in every store in my neighborhood, I talk to people. I try to talk to people on the street. I try to just meet new people. And basically, I was probably pretty down and out. It was my second year of law school. I had a good friend who was just an eternal optimist, and now is the county judge executive of a county around here. I'm not going to name names, but
Yeah.
He put me on the say yes to everything summer, right? And then we just said yes to everything. We went out and did everything. If somebody was having a party, we went to the party. If somebody said, let's go out to eat, let's go out to eat. If the school was saying, let's volunteer and do this, we went and volunteered, If, somebody works hey, I need you to cover shift. I said, yeah, I'll cover a shift. Whatever it was say yes to everything. And that really changed my perspective on life, man. It's just like, even if it's not something you don't think you want to do, look, there are limitations. Don't go do fentanyl. Don't say yes to fentanyl. I'm not saying.
Right. Of course.
But, what I'm saying is, like, within boundaries, say yes to everything. Somebody, says, you want to go learn how to ride a horse. I didn't know anything about a horse. I know I'm dressed like a cowboy. I did this for the views, by the way. I just did this for the viewers. You said there was going to be a video, so I'm like, I'm going to put on a little costume for them. But anyhow, because y'all thought I was going to be dressed like a lawyer. I'm not. I'm dressed like a cowboy, because why the hell not, right? So, anyway.
Kind of got like a Woody thing going on.
Yeah. Woody. My wife loves, my daughter loves Woody. And Buzz, for that matter. But anyway, so what I was saying was, like, just really, and then there's this quote from Hunter S. Thompson, too, another great Kentuckian, and a long tradition of, counterculture, that kind of thing. And I don't even consider what I'm doing counterculture, quite frankly, and I'll get into that. But, he said, buy the ticket, take the ride. Tony, that's kind of a philosophy I have. Like, people come to me, they've got problems, they've got issues, the case may sound difficult, the situation may sound dire, but I'm going to live through it, right? I'm the lawyer, right? That's the thing people don't get. There are a whole lot of lawyers that are afraid to do anything they don't already know how to do, or that they might lose. And I think buy the ticket, take the ride, that to me is a motto to live by if you're fortunate enough to have that capacity. And I get, like, a lot of people, they don't have that opportunity where they can just go off and take risks and things like that. But the way you get to that point, on some level, is by doing that to begin with. You've got to take that first jump, right? It's like asking that girl out, or whatever it may be, right? Whoever, whatever gender, whatever, that kind of thing. Or, just asking somebody, hey, you want to hang out? Like, you got to make connections. And if you don't go out there and buy that ticket, take the ride, say yes to everything, you don't end up on Tony's show, and you really don't end up, you end up doing the same thing over and over again. And to get back to that, I mean, I can't remember. I think it's Mark Twain said it. Most men die at 27. We just bury them at 72.
Ooh.
That's because most people don't change, right? They get stuck in their ways. When
I was in college, I used to have this thing called never let a what if moment pass. And
exactly.
it was about, obviously, the same thing, like, don't say yes to fentanyl, but I was having when I first went to college on Fort Knox, I was just going through, like, a hard time in life. It was an unfair time. It was out of my control. It was out of my family's control. It was just a hard time. And it made me really take a second to realize, like, I only got today. Like, yesterday, shit was perfect, and now shit's not perfect. And, like, I just want to take advantage of today. So I was like, I used to walk around and always say, never let a what if moment pass. And so, like, I wouldn't want to go to bed without a what if. What if I didn't dance with her at the club? What if I didn't go to that party? What if I didn't say, I'm gonna try this? I ended up creating this, like, I had, like, this thing at McDonald's where there was, like, 30 people that showed up for me, and I started this thing called LTA, Local Talent Association. This was right here in Radcliffe. I was about 18 at the time. I had just turned 18, still living at mom and dad's, and I was like, hey guys, there's a studio, there's this, there's that. You want to model? I need girls in my music video. You want to rap? And, like, we all can. Like, I remember the guys from the studio that had opened the studio, they stayed at McDonald's afterwards, and they were like, I don't know what it is with you, Tony, but you just got half of McDonald's filled up, man. You need to be where you're at today. Like, you got something going on. And it was cool. It got to the point where Radcliffe police, I'm not throwing shame, but they started investigating me, thinking that I was running some sort of ring. It was more hilarious than it was serious, because it's not like they, like, ran in on my parents or anything like that. They didn't kick in no doors. But it got around that they were investigating me, so I just, like, literally walked into the police station. And I was like, what's going on? Why are you investigating me? And they were like, are you running, like, a sex ring or something? And I was like, no. And I was like, I actually was able to call these girls' moms and had them, like, talk to the police. Like, dude, like, they're there. Like, they're not even dressing scandalous. Like, and their brothers are rapping, so it's like, it was funny. But I mean, I say all that just to say, like, I see what you're saying. Never let a what if moment pass. Don't be afraid to take advantage of the moment. Let's get back to the cannabis for a second.
The things you don't do far more than the ones that you do is what I'll say most of the time. By and large. But anyway, yeah, back to cannabis.
Back to cannabis. Do you partake? Have you used cannabis in your life?
Of course. It's 2024. I'm an adult. Yes. I mean, I think, like, the vast majority of people do. But, I mean, I will say this, like, it is not nearly what it used to be, right? Like, I mean, there were periods in my life where That was a very important thing to me. And as time's gone on, though, like, I mean, I've cut out just about everything. And I'm not saying there's definitely the occasion, right? If I'm, we're camping, it's a full moon or whatever, people are getting in the waterfall, somebody passes me a joint in a very legal marijuana state, that is a statement I am saying for the Kentucky Bar Association. Or if I have my medical card or whatever,
Right.
I'm not saying no.
It's January 10th,
Yes,
2025.
I know. Who cares? Who
But
cares? Yes, but I mean, like, I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just, I guess, Tony, what I'm saying is, like, I am a big proponent of this for the right people at the right time, right? And I think that, like, there are some people that get caught up and they smoke too much for their own good. Some people that smoke all the time, and that's the best for them, right? For me, right now, it's, being clear-headed has been excellent for me to the extent that, like, I've even given up coffee. And so it's not a knock. Like I said, like 100%, like if you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago, you'd get a completely different answer. And again, like I said, it's not a no. It's not a I didn't inhale. It's not a Bill Clinton, It's an Obama. It's yes, I did inhale. That's the point, right?
That's the point of doing it.
Exactly.
You guys, we are sponsored. Today I have this rolled up in Stuff. Thank you to Stuff from Ontario, Canada. And then I have the Jam and Hemp that sent us this. So I'm going to gear this over before I light up, right? With your knowledge, what is this thing going on where THCA is being able to be shipped in Kentucky, but theoretically we can't sell the flower in stores? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so I want to put this in the best way I can for everybody, right? Because I represent several businesses right now that are under indictment, criminal indictment for selling that product, right? And now that's not to say they're not convicted. I'm not saying they're going to be convicted, but we have to be careful how we talk about things like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's just because the law on this is very nuanced. So here's what I would say, Tony. Their argument, the government's argument would be, that is trying to convict my clients, that either they tested it, right, and that labbed higher than 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight, and that could be for a couple reasons, right? Number one would be because it decarbed, right? And there's a lot of ways that could happen. Light, time, heat are the enemies. Now, it is the position of Rod Kite and other lawyers, and I think Rod's a smart guy. I know he worked on the original Farm Bill, and he's been a big advocate in this area, and I don't think his interpretation is wrong, that all that really matters is how does it test during that pre-harvest test that's 30 days out, and whatever happens afterward is what happens afterwards. A lot of times the government doesn't understand this nuance, right? And so what they'll do is so say they pulled you over and you had some of that, right? And they sent it off to the lab. They're going to send it to the Kentucky State Police Crime Lab in Frankfort, where they don't have high-performance liquid chromatography machines. What they have are called gas chromatographs and mass spectrometers. Now, a gas chromatograph, and not to bore everybody, I feel like I'm going down that road, but anyway, hear me out. Give me just a minute. Give me a minute.
Let them cook!
What a gas chromatograph does, in order to determine what drug they've got or what substance they've got, because it can tell you what anything is, really, is it heats it up. Now, what do we know about THCA, Tony?
Oh, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Exactly. So the lab's going to come back, even if it was legal. When it was the pre-harvest test was done, even if it was legal at the harvest test, even if it was legal when it was seized and put in the gas chromatograph, if you heat it up, it's going to test hot, right? And so what happens is, on the retail side, and a lot of times this is how I see it, they don't go and bust everybody. Calvin, there's thousands of stores selling this stuff still in the state, I would say. I mean, at least hundreds, maybe over 1,000, I would say for sure, probably thousands, is they don't go and bust everybody because it's complicated and it's expensive to test this stuff. And quite frankly, we certainly shouldn't be wasting money on this. We should be sending off, like I said, like the fake oxys that have fentanyl in them. We should be sending off like the fake Xanaxes from China. We should be sending off the murder weapons. We should be sending off the rape kits. We shouldn't be sending this shit. But anyway, can I say that? I'm sure I can say that. Anyway, the point is, if you got a law enforcement agency, and like I said, they don't really care about this either. I mean, some of my clients are law enforcement officers, right? They don't, by and large, they don't care anymore either. They know this is the way things are going, but they get a call, right? This is how it always goes down. Some kid at school falls out because they hit a THCP vape at school or something in high school, right? Or something.
Jesus.
And THCP, for those that don't know, is I think 33 times more effective at binding with your cannabinoid receptors than D9 THC or Delta 8 either. And so it's a very potent. I'm not gonna say it's gonna get you. Don't go out and get some because you're like, oh, I'm gonna get 33 times as high. That's not the case either. But it's actually natural molecule. It's found in minuscule amounts in traditional marijuana. It's not as like there's still real questions about it. It's not like it's obvious as like THCO.
From what I'm understanding, THCP, okay, is naturally already in cannabis. What they have done is condensed a large amount of it into one little vial, and therefore that's why you get like the 3,200 milligram THCP pens. They've taken a natural substance and basically multiplied it, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the other thing about it is like people tell me that have used it, or like this. I had a client that had developed a THCP spray, and like it wasn't calibrated right. They were tested. People were getting high for like 3-4 days, like as high as they've ever been their whole life. Like off this stuff. Like, which again, maybe that's attractive to some people, but I got kids, I got stuff I got to do. I can't be like
on Cat Williams
for 3 or 4 days, right? And so, anyway, my point is this: is like, so some kid will get into something like that at school, or even like a really strong THCA that they're not ready, they're not accustomed to, because these companies are selling really powerful stuff. And that's good for some users, people that have certain pain, insomnia, appetite, absolutely. But that should be in consultation, if not with the doctor, at least with somebody that knows what they're talking about, not just something you buy at the gas station or your older brother gives you or whatever. Anyway, these kids hit these pens at school, they fall out, they tell the principal, oh, I got it at, the store down there. And then they go get a warrant, right? It's only then, really, that the cops give a shit, right? That they have something to do, because like the school or the mayor or whoever has told them, we need you to go look into this. And this has been my experience anyway. I haven't seen anybody otherwise get raided, but of course that can change. But anyway, they go in, they get a search warrant, or they don't, right? They do some controlled buys. They go in, they dress normal, and they buy, whatever's on the pre-rolls, bud in the jars, whatever. And then they send it off to the lab, and like I said, it tests positive. Then they get a warrant, they come back and they rate everything, and they treat it like it's marijuana because it tests like it's marijuana, right?
Yeah.
And so the other side of this, though, Tony, is to get into a little more of this nuance about why it can be shipped, arguably, is that, so, under the Farm Bill, right, of 2018, everybody always talks about it's Farm Bill approved, Farm Bill legal. That's nonsense. It's not a thing. There's no agency that stamps it and it's like it's organic or whatever. It's just there's a Farm Bill and like it's arguably compliant. But here's the thing about the Farm Bill is like it does allow for states to change the definition of what is hemp and what is not. And in Kentucky right now, and under the Controlled Substance Act, under KRS 218A 010 sub 28, marijuana is defined as basically any part of the cannabis plant, right? Except for industrial hemp products. All right, so that's sounding good for us, right? Because that's what THCA is, arguably. But then it says except for buds or floral material. So I know it's confusing, right? It's this, then it's not this, then it's not this. So what that means, if you want to argue it, is that THCA buds and floral material are banned under the Controlled Substance Act in Kentucky. And they have, in fact, been for years. This isn't anything new. This is what the definition has been for, 5, 6, 10, maybe 7 years. But the problem there for them, Tony, is if they try to enforce it, and this is like a whole semester of law school I'm giving y'all for, free 99, so enjoy. But, for like, under the federal statute, the state governments cannot interfere in the shipment of Farm Bill legal products that are under 0.3% by dry weight at the testing of the relevant testing time as they travel through interstate commerce. So, the argument would be, and that we're developing and that we'll be arguing, I believe in Jefferson County, possibly in Barron County, depending on how those cases shake out, we'll see, is that, the whole statute banning floral material is unconstitutional because it infringes upon what's called the Commerce Clause, the Constitution, the federal Constitution. So, anyway, it's a big gray area. What I will say is I have advised a lot of these people that sell this stuff, and, really, here's the answer. Would I personally sell it? No, I would not, because I don't need the money. But I understand people are going to, because they got businesses, they got employees, they got mouths to feed. If they are, there are certain things they can do to be smart about it. And there's a list of approved products that the Cabinet for Health and Family Services on the state level has put out through the Department of Public Health. There's a health inspector by the name of Troy Wilkerson at the DPH used to be a food inspector, and he got drafted to do all this, who was very helpful and will tell you exactly what Delta products, what THCA products can you sell that are legal in Kentucky. Now, that said, no flower products are under that regulation. But has anybody that I'm aware of been charged on an individual capacity for possessing THCA flower in original packaging? No, I'm not aware of any case like that. If anybody out there has heard of one, let me know. I'd love to know about it. But again, like I said, I can't advise my clients to break the law. It's the same thing like a doctor can do no harm, right? They're not supposed to intentionally do any harm. I can't advise my clients to break the law. I don't do it. I tell them, like, look, right now the way this is written is that you can't do it, but that law itself may be unconstitutional, and we're challenging it right now. I think we're right. As to how far that goes, there's a lot left to happen. And I mean, we're seeing this on the same level right now with vapes too. I mean, vapes are all but illegal too under House Bill 11. That happened on January 1st, and I don't want to. Tony, you got some questions for me? I'll shush. But that's it in a nutshell. Is and what direction it goes? How does this develop? I think we'll know more as the year passes on, and that's what I can say for now. But again,
it's complicated, right?
It's complicated. Nobody should go to jail for it. Quite frankly, the cops don't want to put them in. The cops I talk to don't want to put people in jail for it.
They got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, they got bigger fish to fry. But so, if you do own one of these stores and you don't listen to me and you do sell this stuff, make sure you ID everybody. Make sure you buy from good suppliers, because you saw what happened with the diamond shrooms last year, where people were buying the crazy mushroom shit, like they were going to the hospital.
I ate some of that shit. I had that. I still have a box of those diamond, empty box because I ate it.
No, I mean
it's like 3 years. I was. Yeah, that's a different time, different story. But yeah, I ate those. Luckily, I really didn't get that crazy off of it. So
right, well, that's good. I mean, maybe one batch was bad. I never really followed up and saw what exactly the issue was with that, Tony. But it's like I said, know your suppliers. I mean, that's one of the benefits I have is I know the companies I worked with. I know what labs they're sending it to. I've seen their facilities. And so yeah, there's a lot of shit out there. Quite frankly, on the THCA side, that is not all natural like we would like it to be, right? I mean, you really can't grow actual THCA flower, right? That being not something that's not sprayed with isolate or distillate or dipped or whatever, that's above about 21% THCA. So if you're buying stuff in the store that's saying it's 35 or 40% or more, that's just not genetically possible with the technology we currently have. It's been adulterated.
The fact that the THCA cap for flower in Kentucky right now is 35%. That's
the D9 cap in the medical program.
Yeah. I'm stoked on that. I'm actually surprised. I mean, it's basically limitless. It's limitless.
They don't know that. Shh, be quiet. They don't know.
Oh shit! I'll take that out then. I keep getting told that I know too much.
They know 35% is strong. And here's the reason though, Tony. It's that is for that is for patients, right? There are people that look. We just put this to vote in 106 counties or municipalities in the state of Kentucky on the ballot, right? Yeah. Last fall. The same state that voted the way it did in all those other elections. 106-0, it passed everywhere. In fact, in every county where alcohol sales were on the ballot, where they were going wet, marijuana got more votes than alcohol. So people don't care.
Are lawmakers really that slow, man? Are they really not understanding what's going on right now? Is that serious? Is that a serious situation?
They don't get it. They don't get it. And honestly, Tony, that's what's going to have to happen. Is as soon as Sazerac, which owns Buffalo Trace and several other brands, or Gem Beam, one of those companies, Suntory Beam or whatever, realizes they're going to have to make their money in marijuana because people aren't drinking as much anymore. This state will roll over, and we'll go adult use. I mean, we're going to go that way anyway. But that's going to be the big breaker. If Churchill Downs or the whiskey companies can figure out how to make money off of weed, then we'll get it. Trust me.
We're now in 2025, guys. For those that's listening, y'all know that I've given you my story on how cannabis came into my life. Can you tell me how cannabis came into your life, and really how your family, and you can conclude on how your family is either supporting you or how they're taking on cannabis? How was that? How was cannabis in your household growing up? Let me say it like that.
I mean, look, I'm happy to talk about things I did, but I'm not gonna put my parents in a spot, like I said, but I mean, look, I would say this is they're kids. They grew up in the 70s, right? I'm an 80s kid, right? They know what it is. I mean, and they're definitely supportive of me now, 100%, right? Yeah, when I got caught smoking weed when I was in college, and They're just like, don't get caught again, right? Don't do it again, right? And we work, whatever, right? And so, and even in, even in high school, I think they had to know and look the other way, right? But like,
So
now
you never got like grounded for weed or anything like that?
no, I mean,
Wow.
I was too slick, Tony. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I don't get caught. But
Ah, I see what you're saying.
no, I mean, like, I think I did, and I think it was just to them. They were like, it's not that big a deal. It's not worth us having a rift in our relationship.
It was a huge deal in my house. It was a
Yeah,
huge deal in mine.
I know it is for a lot of people, and like, I get it, because like I said, like, I think marijuana is a great thing for the right person at the right time. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that I think it's right for everybody all the time either. And so I think that like people like obviously you benefit from it. I know guys that like do like all day, every day, and that is their highest performance level. And like just for me, like honestly, like I don't drink anymore. Like I said, I don't drink coffee even. Like it's just been like just different and alive and like a different. And I feel like sometimes like if you've been on a long enough run, right, with substances or whatever, if just and I got off all the medications and shit I was on too.
You
If you
got
just
high
go
on life.
sometimes, yeah, it's just so different. Just being completely straight, like, that it's almost like being high on life. Like, you're right. And, like, that I'll be up, be a year in February since I had, any alcohol or any prescription medication.
Hell yeah,
Or
man.
coffee. Or
Congrats.
coffee. And
Hell
so,
yeah.
and like I said, I mean, there's been some THC. I get clients that send me products, I got to test them, that kind of thing. But again, like, I'm not, like, a daily user or anything.
I honestly forgot what year I quit cigarettes because it wasn't about a timing thing for me. But I know I quit when I started working at Wendy's. So it's been at
Yeah.
least 3.5 years since I've smoked a cigarette.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm lying. I smoked a cigarette in 2023 when I got in a car wreck and I got T-boned. I smoked for I probably smoked a total of like 11 cigarettes. That was to help me get back to sleep. It was weird.
Man, yeah, I mean, like, look, everybody, like I said, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think even anything, like, even like fentanyl, right? Like, I mean, maybe, like, they use it for surgery, right? Like, I think every
Don't
substance.
they use like a different grade of fentanyl though in the hospital than what's going
Well,
around in the
sure, but then the
streets?
stuff they make in China and then ship to Mexico and all that shit and then press in the pills. But I mean, my point is this: is like, you know, even like big advocates of psychedelics, right? Like nobody's saying you should drink ayahuasca instead of water, right? Like the point is like setting, right amount, right person, right time, and it's different for everybody. And ultimately, I think like again, like I talked about originally, it's like we need to talk to people that are different than us and tolerate, what they're going to do. And I think that that's what this is really about to me, about marijuana legalization, is nobody should go to jail for this. People should have access to it. We should certainly tolerate it. It is by far less damaging than cigarettes or alcohol or, I mean, maybe even probably fried foods even. Like, it's like, there's all sorts of shit. Like, maybe even coffee. I don't know for some people. So, but at the same token, like, I just think that, I certainly was at one point in my life, like, everybody should be high all the time. That's not how I see it anymore, right? I think that, like, there's everybody has to figure out their own personality, their own self, their own identity, and find that best version of them. And, for some people, it's daily use, and for other people, it's occasional, and I'm sure for some people, it's not at all. And so I think that, that's just being tolerant, right?
Right. I mean, do you think that Kentucky, the way that we're going about legalization, I should say the way that Frankfurt is, do you think they're doing it the right way, or do you forecast some difficulties that could be avoidable?
Look, I mean, in retrospect, are there things I think that they would do differently if they had it to do over again, the program so far? Absolutely. But, Tony, I also think they're doing a great job, right? I mean, I'm going to give them an A minus based on what I've seen so far, maybe even an A if I'm grading on a curve. Certainly if I'm grading on a curve against the other states, it's easily an A. And so, I mean, look, there are some downsides to what they did, obviously. I think a lot of us would have liked to see more local winners. That is what that is.
How many of the local winners, though, would have been able to completely own it, like in financially, right? How many Kentucky businesses could have not only won the lottery, not only maybe even survived the first quarter, but have enough to take a loss if there is a loss? Like, how much money was there when the winners were able to secure it due to how many applications they put in? Some people that put in 2 applications, that's all the money that they had. They had no money to really run afterwards. You know what I'm saying? They're like, so I don't know. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they had me thinking, was this more about holding the lottery first, just to, or holding the license to benefit off the sale, or was there really a game plan behind Kentucky businesses, and it's like, I
Well,
don't know.
I can answer that, Tony. I have a pretty good. I mean, look, I can't read their minds over at the regulators, but I talk to them all the time. I talk to them on Wednesday, and I'm going to be in Frankfurt with them all day on Tuesday. And I think that they're, like I said, high charactered people that like understand the product. I'll say that, and they want it to succeed here, right?
Right.
And as far as why they picked the lottery, I think we all get back into this rooting for like Kentucky cannabis side, but really, who should we be really rooting for? Who do we really care about? The patients, right?
Okay.
If this is a medical program. We want to get medical marijuana to the patients to start, right? And so they picked a lottery, not because they think it's the best system. It's certainly not. Like on an objective level, on like if we're scoring people, randomness is never better, right? Then I mean, you can put 10 people in a room to say we're going to grade how good of a cook you are, and you can come up with 10 different criteria about how does it taste, how does it smell, how does it look, right? And no matter which 10 people you pick, we're going to all agree all 10 of those systems are better than rolling random dice and just picking somebody, right? Because there's going to be some sense to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason they picked the lottery is because they didn't want to get sued. It's really that simple. And if they'd gone through and they'd started grading people and saying like, oh, I'm going to give you 2 points because you got, a cool logo, and like 5 points because you got 3 security cameras instead of 2, and 6 points because you've got this many parking spaces and this one only has this many parking spaces, you're going to just end up in a bunch of lawsuits about, well, I should have got the license because even though he has more parking spaces than I do, I have, I have a degree in agriculture. And like, how do you weigh shit like that, right? In any way that's consistent and fair. And so what they said was the most important thing to us, this is how I see it, is that we get these products on the shelves and to the patients, right? And so the way to do that, and we've seen this in other states, is to avoid lawsuits tying up the program. And the best way to do that was the way they did it, which is a lottery, and they were smart, and I've been saying this from the beginning, without alternates. Because right now, if I don't get picked in the lottery, I don't have any standing, what's called standing in the law world, basically, to sue the regulators that I didn't get picked, because I don't know that I would have been, right? How do you argue that, like, even if somebody that did get picked, for example, lied on their application, did something illegal, whatever, how do you come around and argue, and therefore I should get a license when there were 3,998 other people in the pot, right? You can't. So, again, like, I love Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky. I have spent the vast majority of my life in Kentucky. I want to see Kentucky win. I have clients. I have winning clients that are Kentucky-born, Kentucky operators, long-term Kentucky, families, things like that are going to be competing in this. I also represent companies from the West Coast. I represent companies from the East Coast, down south, up north, everywhere, right? Midwest. I talk to everybody. And you're absolutely right, though, too. Like, on some level, like, here's the other analogy I give for the people like, oh, it should have been biased toward Kentucky. Well, that would have definitely been a lawsuit, and one we would have lost that would have caused us to have to probably redo the whole thing. We talked about the Commerce Clause earlier. There's this case out of Tennessee, out of the Supreme Court of the United States about Total Wine in Tennessee, which essentially said this county in Tennessee couldn't discriminate against liquor licensees based on where they were from. It's a little more complicated than that, but basically our understanding of the Dormant Commerce Clause is, at a not very simplified level, is you can't discriminate against a business based on what state they're from, right? And so if we'd put in any sort of roadblocks like that, we were going to get sued. I didn't decide this, but the regulators, and so they were smart. They're like, we want to get what's important to us, get the products on the shelf, get them to the patients, get the patients treatment. Because it's a medical program. It's not recreational. We're not there yet. This is how we get there. We're not there yet. And so in any event, like I said, like, I think that, again, A minus, there are things they could have done a little differently, but, and that's just a straight up, like, on, knowing what they know now. But if you compare it to, like, several states, it's been tied up for years, them getting things off the ground. Like, even Ohio, they passed rec a while ago. New York has been a disaster. And that's New York, right? And so this is Kentucky. We're doing things on a limited basis to start because it is Kentucky. But they want to get, the program under their feet, off the ground. They want to get everybody up and running. And then they're going to expand. And then it's going to get bigger. And there'll be more grow. And there'll be more opportunities. And again, like, people are going to have to hire people in the communities to come grow this stuff. You can't grow weed over the internet, right? You got to go in and actually work with it. So like I said, I'm with you. I come down with you in that, like, I think they did a good job. And do I wish there was some other way where what I really wish, Tony, is we'd legalized it 10 years ago, right? And then, the Crescos and the Curaleafs of the world would be from Lexington to Louisville and Radcliffe and Bowling Green and Hoptown and wherever, right? As opposed to from Denver and, Pennsylvania, I think, but Crescos, but like all over the country, right? If we had been earlier to this, if the legislature had gotten out of the way, because I think people would have voted for this 10 years ago, if they'd let us actually be heard, and they didn't. So it is what it is. But here we are. At least we beat Tennessee and Indiana at something. So I like that.
We did.
It is. There is that. But no, again, like I get the criticism. I understand the heat. But I think that when people look, I've had people be very angry, and then I just explain all this to them, and they're like, "Oh, now I see it. Right now I get it." And one other thing I'd say is just to put this back, and I think this is what your point was, is that if you had two people come apply for a job at your company that you owned, right? And one of them, they had the same grades in school, they went to the same school, but one of them had been in the industry doing that job for 10 years and was successful, and the other one just got out of school, who are you going to hire?
The one that put the time in.
Yeah, the one that's got experience, right? And that's the reality. Is like these out-of-state companies, they do have experience. We don't, because we sat on our hands and didn't do anything for over a decade as this happened nationwide. So you're right to be mad at somebody, and it's the legislature. But then again, they're doing everything they can now to move forward. So at some level, we're mad at people that are gone. So like I said, we just got to move forward with the way things are, the best we can, and like I said, the team at OMC, Office of Medical Cannabis, I think has been excellent. And I'm sure that, I could sit here and nitpick, but I think a lot of the things I would say, they'd be like, yeah, we wish you'd done that too. It's our first time doing it. So I'm not mad at them.
Did you get a chance to read the blog I sent you?
About the act, people getting to grow their own and that kind of thing? Yeah, I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm not talking from behalf of my clients. This is Brad Clark, the individual, right? I think that marijuana, and that's the other thing, when you asked me about THCA, I'm like, I think that, I don't know what all's in all that. I don't know the methodologies. I haven't seen the labs. If you call up the people at KCA Labs and they've run it through their machine and they're cool with it, maybe I'm cool with it. But, the thing about marijuana is we got thousands and thousands of years of, use of this, relatively safe across the whole world, multiple cultures. I really want to see a movement, quite frankly, Tony, to go back to these, what they call landrace strains, right? These naturally occurring.
Yeah. Mother Earth's,
Mother
like you
Earth's
said, natural occurring, yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to this, look, I get it. People love the, crazy purple and, beautiful floral, things that are out there. But to me, I think, if you got to hit it one more time, who cares, right? Right?
Man.
So that's kind of the point, right? Is it's fun.
Or roll a fatter one.
Yeah, roll the fatter one, exactly. So I get it, why people like to see all that genetics and the high test and stuff like that. But we got liquor and we got beer, right? Too, and that's the other thing. And I think that I hope the industry really comes back around to realizing that is some of these products are just too powerful for the mainstream, not everyday consumer. We need something for everybody too. And I don't want to say it's like alcohol, because it's not. It's a whole different thing, right? But on the same, going back to coffee, for instance, right? There's you get the shitty Folgers drip coffee in your budget hotel, right? That you make there with the crystal, the Folgers. It's fine, whatever. I drink it. I'm cool with it. But then you could go have a double cold brew or 3-shot espresso and I'll be cracked out, right? The point is the industry, I think, could do a better job at not just engaging the enthusiasts, but making products for everybody. And that's all to get back to your point is should people be able to grow it? I think so. I do. I think people should be able to grow their own, roll their own. I hope we end up there. It's a plant. Yeah. It's a plant, right? And it's a naturally occurring plant that is evolved with us over time, as a culture. Maybe not in this culture of the United States, but though it's always been in the background. Hell, I was wearing a Charlie Parker shirt earlier. I'm a big jazz head. So,
right.
That's part of our culture, everything going back. So my point is this, is I agree. Some of my clients, I'm sure, that want to sell it to you. I mean, they probably don't care either. A lot of them, like, because what they're going to do is going to be different than what a lot of the homegrower people are going to do. Just because I can make sourdough bread doesn't mean I'm not going to go to the store and buy a loaf to make sandwiches for my kids.
Yeah.
Just because I can make a pizza doesn't mean I don't want to occasionally call Domino's, right? Like, there's room for everybody in this, and certainly I'm all about freedom, Tony. And like, I think, until they step on somebody else, I'm all about giving people freedom.
I wanna go into the part where you are a lawyer, you have a business. Let's say now that medical cannabis is going to take off, I wanted to do something like start a delivery service. I know that that still is considered a cannabis business. Would it be, if somebody wanted to start something like that without a lawyer, they probably risk getting a lot of like red tape involved where they mess up paperwork. Where do you come in hand with something like that? And what is it that you secure, or what is it that benefits the company if they get with you doing
Well, yeah,
something
that's
like
great. That's great. I mean, I think we need to do a lot of work on. I mean, you mentioned delivery specifically, but all of these kind of like associated, like complementary businesses. Because I mean, just because you're good at growing weed doesn't mean you want to transport it or are good at transporting it. Just because you can run a store doesn't mean you want to deliver it, right? Or anything like you want, like going back into like just because you want to grow it doesn't mean you want to do mold remediation and things like that, right? There should be different companies that can do different things. And the legislature, when they passed Senate Bill 47 in 2023, that's the initial bill. They designated a certain type of number of licenses, right? Not number of licenses, but types, right? So there's the cultivator, there's the processor, there's the dispensary, and then the safety testing lab, and then the other licenses, what's called a producer, which is just essentially a vertical production side, cultivation and processor.
Right. There's no transport license yet.
There's no transport license. I think they need to look at that. I think they should have that independently. Now, technically, if you are a licensee, you can contract with other individuals under your license to provide transport. But they haven't fleshed that out a lot yet. And I'll be honest, I think the regulators will go back and they'll try to. I want to talk to Sam at OMC about that, or Nick, or any of them, really, about what their plans are this session. Because the legislature just got in on Tuesday. What, Tuesday? Yeah, it was Tuesday when it started. There's new bills flying out every day. I suspect we'll see some cleanup on some of this. I know we've done a lot of work across the industry to try to get everybody on the same page about expanding the definition of canopy so we can grow more, because it's really the amount that we're going to be allowed to grow to start is very little. It's very small. And I hate to tell you listeners that, but that's the truth. Is there's a good chance I could be back on this show a year from the day, and you might be like, where's it at? And I'm just like I said,
no way.
No, there's going to be some. Don't get me wrong. But it's going to be like the PlayStation when it comes out, or like the, whatever the hot toy is for Christmas, like for a while.
Hold on. Let me ask you, when do you think, Brad, when would you expect the stores to open?
I think there'll be a store that cuts ribbon probably in May or June or August.
The summertime? You want to say
this
the summer?
Yeah,
okay.
Nobody that I'm aware of has the certificate yet to even begin operations, and you've got 30 days after you get that before you can even start growing. So just do the math on that, right? Even if somebody got one yesterday, right? 30 days from now they could start growing. That puts us, by the time it's cured and processed and everything, we're in May or June or July already. And that's if things go well. And that's going to be, remember, we've only licensed 115,000 square feet of growth statewide, okay? That's not that much. I know it sounds like a lot, but we did the math at one point. I think if things go really well, that works out to less than 1,000 pounds per store per year, based on what we've currently licensed. Because we've licensed 48 stores, and I think it's about 40,000 pounds is what we were able to come up with, give or take. So it's less than 1,000 pounds in the first year per store, which again, 1,000 pounds of weed sounds like a lot, but no, it's not.
It's not. Even if they sell them all in eighths, which I see a lot of dispensaries starting to do, where you can't even you either get it by the gram or you get it by the eighth, and you got to buy it all in eighths. I've seen a lot. I go to Michigan every now and then, and you just see different changes over a while.
But no, I mean, what I would tell people when they call me, because I get these calls, Tony, they're like, where do I go get my card? I'm like, don't even bother right now. What you need to do is follow the existing executive order, get a letter from your doctor identifying that you have one of those conditions, and then now, thankfully, you can go to Ohio if you're willing to pay the taxes on rec. or Illinois if you're willing to pay crazy taxes on rec. Or you can
Michigan.
do what Tony suggested, drive all the way up to Michigan and get weed at prices I don't even understand. I don't know how they make any money up there. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And yeah, just operate under the existing Bashir executive order, not under the medical card system. Not now. There's no reason. Like I said, and that's, you asked me when I think there's going to be stores open. I said maybe June if we're lucky, August. But when do I think you're going to be able to walk in and find what you want? It could be this time next year. Nobody wants to hear that, and it's not going to be my fault, and it's not the regulator's fault, and it's not really my client's fault either. It's just the nature of getting one of these things off the ground, right? It's a whole new product. I can't even think of an analogy like this. Like, it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, Tesla still doesn't even have a dealership in Kentucky, right? Like, that's a new product, electric cars, right? You know, and so to expect us to go from having this everywhere and widely available from 0 to 100, like, on immediately is just not realistic when we can't bring it in from out of state because of the law. And so it's, you know, I know everybody wants to. Hell, I mean, if you got a license, you want to sell weed, right? You got a monopoly in your county to sell marijuana legally. You want to sell as much as you can while you can. Nobody's not trying.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, it is complicated, and they know that they have not licensed enough grow, and they're going to work on it, but they wanted to start slow, see, you know, learn from it and improve, right? And so, again, like I said, like, I think they probably wish they had licensed more, but they can fix it too. I mean, I think that we'll hear something relatively soon about letting the licensed growers expand or apply for more, or
Hopefully they'll let us grow at home. I hear a lot of people say they don't want it, they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want people to hear that kind of talk or that kind of conversation because, you know, I've had all kinds of reasons why this type of conversation shouldn't go on, that we should be allowed to grow. But I don't see the tug of war in it. I don't. I just see that either we have the access to it, equal access, or we don't. I know we're short on time now.
No, you're good. Yeah, I gotta get off just a second. But like I said, like, no, I mean, look, I'm all for access, right? On a personal level. Like, might I argue otherwise in court or whatever because my client's paying to me too? That's part of my job. Nobody gets mad at, you know, Darth Vader. Nobody's mad at James Earl Jones for, you know, trying to kill Luke Skywalker, right? It's his job. It's for James Earl Jones to get up there and read the lines or whoever, right? That's Darth Vader. The point is, but at the end of the day, you know, he goes home, he's got his own opinions, right? In my own opinion, in my own personal capacity, and, you know, I could be wrong, this is my opinion, is that I think that access is the most important thing to this to me, and I think that there's plenty of people that want to consume these products, and there's plenty of room for people to have premium, lab-tested, especially on the, like, you know, because nobody's at home making their own vape cartridges. I mean, people are, but, like, it's a pretty small group, or making their own gummies. There might be people that are harvesting and making brownies and butter and things like that, and that's all positive with trim. I think that's great. But, you know, there's still going to be people that are, like, they want that, you know. I love this product that's made by a company, and I'm not paid to say this, they're not a client, I think it's a great idea, is WIMS, W-I-M-S. Have you seen these, Tony?
I have not.
So what they are, they're a little expensive for what they are, but they're basically like little packets. And they're 4 milligrams of D9 THC from hemp that you can just like keep in your wallet or your pocket. If you're out somewhere, you're at a bar with somebody, you know, with your friends, you don't drink alcohol, or maybe you want both. I don't know. You get like a tonic water, a club soda, some other drink, you just pop it in there, it's a little stirred up, you got a 4 milligram drink. It's a beautiful thing. And so, like, stuff like that, people aren't going to make that at home. You know, it is what it is, right? And the people that want to grow at home and make the things at home, that's not for them anyway. That's not what they want. Especially patients, people that are really disabled, people that are truly sick and need access for medical reasons. Absolutely not. And so, like I said, I think that, again, like, nobody, you know, there's all sorts of market incentives here for us to get our prices as low as possible so we get as many consumers as possible, as quickly as possible. And there's no tax on medical products in the state of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So I think that people that think that there's some sort of weird, like, incentive for us that we're gaming it or anything like that, that's not the case. It's just a matter of spending millions of dollars to build some of these facilities. You build a 25,000 square foot state-of-the-art grow, and you go run the numbers on that, see what it costs. I mean, you got to make your money back, right?
Yeah.
And in order to attract good actors to the state, we have to have a system where they think they can get paid back, and so we have to limit it on some level because we don't want people just shoveling stuff out the back door to the black market. We don't want, cartels or whatever groups getting a hold of the supply and selling it and diverting it from patients, number one, but then number two, outside when we do go to an adult use model, there will be taxes, almost certainly. There has been everywhere else. If it's not homegrown, we want that tax revenue on some level because, again, like I said, it's not that marijuana is
You saying they want a tax revenue on homegrown?
No, I'm saying they won't. I'm saying that's what
I was like, that's crazy.
No. What I'm saying is right now, while we don't have homegrown, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want stuff getting sent out the back door. They don't want gray market, black market stuff being grown in the licensed system.
Yeah. I get what you're saying now.
Because they want to reap. They either want it to go to patients. That's noble. That's good. Or they want to get some of those tax benefits to offset the HAP programs. So, like I said, there's a limited number of people that really do get physically addicted to marijuana or psychologically addicted and can't quit. Most people I know can pick it up and put it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there. And I think the gateway drug stuff is way overplayed. But on the same level, the more we can have resources as a society to help people deal with addiction issues, whether it be opioids or meth or gambling or whatever, right? That money's got to come from somewhere. And realistically, when we get to an efficient, effective market, marijuana is so cheap anyway to produce at scale. That's maybe a source of where it should be. To offset some of the downsides, right? Because, like I said, I think that marijuana is great for a lot of people a lot of the time, but not for everybody all the time. And especially people that have underlying mental health issues, helping with treatment for those kinds of things. And really, at the end of the day, Tony, if we got to pay a little bit of tax to get a little bit of freedom, it's better than the current situation right now, in my point. I know a lot of people are revolutionaries, want to burn it down. I was when I was younger. But I tell you, incremental, working within the system to improve the system also has merits, too. You don't have everything, doesn't have to be burn everything down all the time, especially because, quite frankly, the business community is working with us on this, and that's what we need. So,
you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. This is Brad Clark, the Kentucky Cannabis lawyer. Sir, you are so knowledgeable. I thank you for your time. If there's definitely a lesson that I feel like I'm already learning at the beginning of this year when it comes to cannabis legislation is we have to be patient. Kind of like what you said, don't burn it down. I'm happy. I want to say that. In no way am I discouraged with what's going on. I'm happy that even if it was an out-of-state company that's running everything, I'm happy that we're moving forward. So in no way am I against anything that's going on. I just want to see Kentucky people shine. I want to see Kentucky people make their money, and I want to see cannabis at the homes. Y'all know what I always say. We all know somebody, a friend, a family member, or a colleague that uses homegrown cannabis. They don't need to be locked up for that shit. Brad Clark, thank you so much for coming on.
Don't lock anybody up for any plants. And by the way, Brad Clark, KYCannabisLawGroup.com. I represent lots of great companies that are going to be bringing products to you guys real soon. As soon as we have the branding and everything back, I'd love to come back and talk about it. And y'all can roast me. Y'all can tell me y'all are corporate, whatever. I want to hear it all. I want to take it. I want the heat. Roast me. Roast my clients. We want to make everything as good as possible for you all. And so tell us that. If you say, Clark, don't come back dressed like a cowboy. I'll dress like Willy Wonka next time or whatever. I'll do it. I'll dress up like a lawyer, whatever the hell. But anyway, appreciate you, Tony. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, listeners. And again, y'all know where I'm at. I'm all over Google. Like I said, stay safe. And,
you'll be able to click his website right here in the blog, right here in the bio too. So they'll be able to find you, man.
If anybody does get busted, anything at all, call me. Anybody got legal questions, I'll get you the right place. Even if I don't do it, I know people that do it. And like I said, I may be about $1, but I'm also about helping people. So
call that number right there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Let's Match, Let's Talk About It, the podcast brought to you by Stewart's Passions. Y'all know I'm your host, Tony. Fuck with your boy.
Whoa, now watch me blaze. Whoa, this stuff to roll up.